We've got to give kudos to Google, as this year leaks and tidbits haven't been quite as prominent, or at least heavy, as they have in previous years ahead of the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro launch, but that doesn't stop the rumour mill, and this is everything you need to know about the upcoming Duo in one nice and easy, convenient place. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Google here on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe, and then tap the bell icon to be notified about all our future uploads. So those early Pixel 6 renders and design rumours proved to be almost exactly spot on when Google decided to just outright reveal the upcoming hardware in a blog post back in August 2021. The entire shake-up of the series starts here with a bold new design and even a new naming convention for the flagship Duo. New design might be a little bit subjective though, as you can see hints of previous generation Pixel hardware and even the Nexus series here. While it's not necessarily confirmed, Google appears to have channeled some Nexus 6P visor energy, along with a little sprinkle of the two-tone Pixel 2 and 2 XL here for a unique but somewhat familiar look and feel in some ways. It's also worth noting that there are some inherent differences between the two devices here too. The smaller Pixel 6 has a decreased rear forehead with the camera visor, and Google calls this a camera bar, sitting a little bit higher in the chassis. Conversely, the Pixel 6 Pro has a larger portion exposed above that black camera visor too. Side by side, the renders show just how pronounced this could possibly be. However, it's unlikely that many people will be keeping both devices side by side in this manner to see those inherent differences. Save the experimentation with 3D face unlock and solely radar tech on the Pixel 4 and 4 XL from 2019. Google has decided to utilize a capacitive fingerprint scanner on all devices for on-device security. As you'll no doubt have noticed in the pre-release renders, prominent storefront displays and very brief hands-on videos, this time there is no Pixel imprint cutout on the rear panel. We'll see an in-display fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 6 series for the very first time here too. Love it or hate it. What might not also be evident from the renders that have been shared, but is pretty notable when pointed out, is that the Pixel 6 will have a flat display, while the Pixel 6 Pro is set to come with a curved panel. Even with some notable hardware differences between each handset, that might mean many of you out there will lean towards one model over the other, as curved displays can be quite divisive. On top of that, there's also a return of a proper earpiece speaker rather than the pretty poor, admittedly, Pixel 5's under-display speaker this time around. Given that last year we also didn't see an XL version of the Pixel 5, it's a return to the standard convention of a small and slightly larger device this year from Google. Early rumours suggested that the Google was going to drop that XL naming in favour of a Pro moniker. This was unquestioned, but was ultimately proven correct, as Google confirmed the device names in that early unveiling in August. Unlike in years prior though, the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro are not just the same phone in different sized chassis. In fact, there are some omissions here, but we'll discuss those later on. All you need to know though is that unlike the solitary Pixel 5 SKU, you can choose between two flagship handsets this time around. So the usual paradigm of small and large flagship Pixel has been restored, which means business as usual, right? Well, unfortunately not, as neither phone is small in the traditional sense. In fact, these are two of the largest Pixel devices to date. The Pixel 6 is marginally taller than the Pixel 3 XL for instance, but it isn't quite as wide. And in terms of screen sizes, the Pixel 6 will have a 6.4 inch flat display, which will be capped at 90Hz. The Pixel 6 Pro will measure in at 6.71 inches with a curved 120Hz AMOLED display. Naturally, both will be AMOLED, but with some tweaks. As we mentioned, the Pixel 6 is coming with a slightly toned down 90Hz panel, while the Pixel 6 Pro is set to up the ante with that 120Hz panel, therefore making that buying decision even more difficult. The dimensions and screen size mean that the Pixel 6 Pro is outright the largest Pixel to date, and it is very similar in size to that of the Galaxy S21, at least by dimensions, with many comparing the two ahead of launch due to the various hardware similarities. For those that love the Pixel 5 size but were put off by the lack of internal grunt, you may be very disappointed in the Pixel 6 rumours and information that we already know. At the very core of the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro is the brand new internally developed Tensor chip, and it's not often that we see new silicon in the smartphone space, so that instantly makes the Tensor chip a big deal, especially as Google looks likely to drop Qualcomm from future flagship hardware, at least for the foreseeable future. Despite being formally announced, there is still a lot we don't officially know about the Pixel 6's Google Tensor chip, including the actual processor cores used in its design. Though these details have finally sort of leaked, it's left us all a little bit more confused about whether the Pixel 6 series will outperform its competition in the Android space, and we have made a dedicated video on that if you do want to check that out for yourself. Even this close to launch though, it also feels a little early on to speculate just where the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro will sit on the raw benchmark charts, but so long as there's enough under the hood grunt to do just about everything you'd want on a modern smartphone, we're sure many of you out there will think this is just fine, and we're pretty sure it will be fine. Google has said though that the Tensor chip will be competitive with other high-end mobile CPUs, but with a focus on AI tasks as well. Beyond the chipset, nothing concrete has been made available at this stage to outright confirm the rest of the Pixel 6 internals. One rumour suggests the smaller Pixel 6 will come with 8GB of RAM and 128 or 256GB of onboard storage. This report also suggests that we might see a rather odd 4614 mAh battery here too, with another report suggesting we'll see 33-watt wired charging on top of that. Meanwhile, the larger Pixel 6, being the Pro model, means that RAM is said to jump up to 12GB in line with other top-tier Android flagships with 128, 256 and 512GB storage options. A 5000 mAh battery apparently powers the show with that Google Tensor chip as well. It too will supposedly include 33-watt wired charging on top of it. Sticking with that charging tech briefly though, we do know that a Pixel stand is set to support 23-watt wireless charging speeds on top. This hints that we might see even faster Qi charging tech on this upcoming Duo. However, it's not clear if it might be limited to the Pixel 6 Pro or available across the board, so for now, nothing definitive has been made available. At least on paper though, without knowing the exact power of that Tensor chip, the rest of the specifications do stack up well against the best of 2021 from the likes of OnePlus, Samsung, Xiaomi and even Oppo. Even without the information, the rumoured core specifications for the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro look to provide a substantial step up over the Pixel 5 from 2020, which is probably what most of you just wanted to hear. So a reboot of the Pixel 6 hardware simply wouldn't be enough alone, so Android itself has been on the end of a massive overhaul to better suit this rebirth. Everything is underpinned by what Google is calling Material You, with device theming all bound by your on-device wallpaper. We probably don't need to tell you that Android 12 on Pixel phones will be the cleanest version of the mobile operating system of that particular tier. That said, at least visually, Android 12 will provide the biggest diversions from the established status quo in years. The combination of Material You and Dynamic Colour, along with some other UI tweaks, has resulted already in the beta phase in a look that feels inspired by, at least in many areas, by Samsung's One UI skin. Material You has also stripped away some of the more granular controls that we have often associated with Android customization, but it does make some sense given how big the Pixel 6 series launch is for the company. We've done a number of deeper dives into just what you'll expect, but there may be some new features that are exclusive to the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro that utilise some of the capabilities of that new Tensor chipset that we are, at least for now, unaware of. There is obviously a certain affinity for the Pixel camera experience and the quality of the images that Pixel hardware produce. A huge lead that Google kind of attained with early versions of their devices has eroded somewhat over the past few years, as the rest of the smartphone industry has caught the computational photography prowess of the Pixel series. Initial rumours did suggest that we'd see a massive shake-up on the Pixel 6 camera setup. You can already see that in the camera layout as well. Gone is that upper left squircle housing that the camera setup introduced way back on the Pixel 4 in 2019. That doesn't necessarily mean a great deal at first glance, but there are some important changes coming, at least so it seems. An early dive into the Google Camera app suggested that we're going to see a 50 megapixel Samsung GN1 sensor in the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, and recently leaked camera samples have also aligned this tidbit with 4:1 pixel binning 50 megapixel images, producing 12.5 megapixel stills from that camera setup. At 50 megapixels, a Pixel 6 with the Samsung GN1 sensor should significantly outperform the Pixel 5's combination of a 12.2 megapixel and 16 megapixel rear camera. However, those aforementioned leaked camera samples from a prototype Pixel 6 Pro truthfully don't show a huge deal of difference, given that the device is still pre-release and unlikely to get updates beyond what's already available or pre-installed, and it's wise to not take those at face value. We must admit, pretty average imagery in one very specific instance might seem bad at first glance, but we'd suggest tempering your expectations accordingly, as always, sometimes after release, things do perform a little bit better than you expect. One major downside is that if you want a full camera setup with all of the focal lengths available, then you will have to look directly at the Pixel 6 Pro. This year, Google is diverging their own flagship lineup in a number of ways, and that includes in the camera department. While both models will include a 15 megapixel main sensor, some rumours suggest and recent leaks suggest that there will be a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and only the Pixel 6 Pro will include that telephoto zoom lens, and you can see that from renders shown online. It's unclear as to the full zoom capabilities, but Google has directly confirmed that the Pixel 6 Pro will include a 4x optical zoom lens with enhanced digital zoom also probably included on top of that. This will also be the first periscope style zoom system on a Pixel that will no doubt include upgrades to the super res zoom feature first debuted on the Pixel 3, a device you remember only included a main wide lens. At the front, the selfie cameras are also said to include some minor differences. The Pixel 6 looks set to stick with an 8 megapixel selfie camera, while the Pixel 6 Pro front facer is said to be rated at a slightly higher 12 megapixels. That might provide a notable step up over the 8 megapixel sensor used on the Pixel 5 and Pixel 4 series, but it's hard to say whether differences will be pronounced here or not. According to Google's own information, and with those very limited previews with selected media, video is another area of focus here for 2021. In those brief hands-on video leaks as well, with a pre-release model, it's pretty hard to glean just what the video capabilities are of the Pixel 6 Pro, but the short snippet certainly didn't wow us. We do know that the Tensor chipset will have the ability to add real-time HDR effects to video after early behind-the-doors testing by certain selected media. Google's own Rick Osterloh even went on to explain that Tensor can utilize the HDRnet process, which is currently used on still images for HDR effects, within every single frame of video for even greater video recording options. This could even mean enhancements to the effects and filters you can apply to video on the Pixel 6 come launch, but we'll just have to hold out hope and hope that video is a big focus yet again. Rumours about the pricing of the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro have been rife since Rick Osterloh also outright confirmed that the device duo will be a premium priced product. You could argue that it depends on your own definition of premium to decipher that, but with high-end smartphones regularly exceeding $1,000, we could be in for a wallet cleansing experience compared to previous years. A couple of recent leaks suggest that those bracing for prices creeping into that 4-digit barrier or past it might be pleasantly surprised this time around. European pricing could make for pleasant reading for those expecting the worst, as reportedly one model of the Pixel 6 will start at €649, while one particular model of the Pixel 6 Pro may sell for €899. We here at 95Google have also been able to confirm these prices with another source in Europe, and that makes it a little bit less hard to swallow. Of course, we will need to explicitly state that these pricing figures may not directly translate across borders. Playing devil's advocate though, that could put at least one of the Pixel 6 models in or around that $700 mark. Conversely, the Pixel 6 Pro could start around the $950 mark in the US. Although that said, often conversion processes mean that European buyers do pay more than their US counterparts, or at least they have in the past. And in this instance, we're hedging our bets, and it will be really interesting to see just how global pricing correlates when the duo are unveiled on stage in the next few weeks. Until very recently though, we simply did not know when Google would be officially showcasing the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. Rumours hinted that the Pixel 6 series would be announced on October 19th, and that has proven correct, as Google officially confirmed the Pixel fall launch event will take place on October 19th, with a groovy website that showcases the new Material U and dynamic colour changes come with Android 12, and you should definitely check that out if you have the chance. It would be fairly safe to assume that pre-orders for both devices will likely start once this event has ended. The previous report suggested devices will actually go on sale over a week after the unveiling on October 29th, so it's pretty much a countdown until that date. We want to ask you though, what are you hoping for from the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, given all those early rumours and that publicly available information surrounding the duo? And then, is there anything else you would like to see at that mid-October launch event? Or is it just a case of Google making a solid smartphone and that's it? Let us know down in the comment sections below what you want to see or what functions and features you're really hoping for. But until next time, this is Damien with 95Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.